Hi guys, this is Miss Sarah. I have been thinking of all of you a lot and hope you're all well. I wanted to share with you guys, I wanted to share with you guys something that I like to do when I first wake up, especially if I'm feeling kind of sad or anxious, which I've been struggling with a little bit during this time, and it generally really helps me out. So what I'm going to share today is breathing exercises. Sounds a little funny because we all breathe all the time, but there are definitely a lot of different ways to breathe and a lot of different ways especially to slow our breath down. Breathing exercises can really help when we're feeling nervous, as I think probably a lot of us know from people telling us that at school or our families or Miss Maya with yoga. And the reason for that is that when we get nervous, our bodies think that there's some kind of threat from the outside world, and our breathing quickens up, kind of like that. And when we are able to breathe more slowly and more evenly, more like that, we can get more oxygen to our brains, which helps the whole process slow down, helps us think more clearly, and helps us calm our bodies and our minds. So, with that said, I thought that we could go through about 10 different techniques of breathing. Some of them are a little bit silly, some of them are pretty fun, and I think all of them are useful to put in your pocket for a time when you're having trouble calming down, or just, I think it's always pretty much a good idea to try some deep breathing. We pretty much never breathe as deeply as we can. Maybe to start out, you can notice your next breath in. When you get to the top, sort of, when you think you've taken in or you've inhaled as much air as you're going to, notice and see if there's any more space in your belly and your lungs to take in even more air. I'm gonna do that now. That's about where I normally breathe in, but now I'm gonna breathe in even more and fill up my whole chest space, my whole belly. Yep. And out. And the same thing on the exhale. When you're breathing out, usually we don't even breathe out all of the air. And right now I'm talking after I've breathed out, but probably I could breathe out some more air still. And I'm gonna try that now. So typically, we don't even breathe in the fullest breath that we could, ever, anytime all throughout the day. So doing breathing exercises can also be a nice way to fill your lungs fully, empty them completely, give them a nice stretch and a nice emptying out. We can stretch out some of our insides in the exact same way that we, would stretch out the other parts of our body. Maybe you can see I'm a little sleepy. As I said, I like to do this right when I wake up. The first breathing exercise that we're gonna do together is infinity breathing. And I think probably a lot of you know the infinity symbol. Infinity means forever or eternal. And the infinity symbol is also called a figure 8 because it looks kind of like an 8 turned on its side. So maybe you can watch my finger. I'm gonna trace one. There's one loop that goes into another loop, like that. Watch my finger a little bit as we get into it. And the infinity breathing exercise, you can either do this by physically doing it with your finger on a paper, on your hand. I think my hand looks a little weird on the video, I'm not sure why. Probably need to drink more water. And you can either do it with your physical finger, or you can just do it in your mind. I'm gonna do it in my mind. And you imagine this infinity symbol, this 8 turned sideways, and you trace it in your mind or with your finger while breathing in and out so that you can create a smooth and continuous breathing cycle. So I'm going to demonstrate on my hand before I do a few breaths on my own, just visualizing it in my head. So the idea here is that we breathe in, out, in, out, in, and out. And now let's try it. I'll trace it in the air as I breathe, but I won't say in and out, and maybe you can just hear my breath. I'll come a little closer. So since I was closing my eyes, I couldn't exactly tell if my finger was on the screen or not. Hopefully you caught the drift anyway. I don't know if any of you noticed, but I'm typically breathing in through my nose and out through my mouth. I'm sure there's some explanation for why people like to do breathing like that. I don't know it, but that's how I've always been taught a lot of the breathing exercises. Some of them intentionally you do all through your nose or all through your mouth for different effects. But generally when I'm just practicing my breathing and doing different breathing exercises, I go in through my nose and out through my mouth. And it's really nice to slow down. Notice how the cool air comes in through my nose or even through my mouth when you were inhaling, the coolness of the air, sort of the crispness of the air, and then the warmth of the air as you exhale and breathe out. And you can even feel that if you put your hand in front of your mouth most of the time. The second one is, I think, also a really, really useful breathing technique. It is called the balloon breathing technique because it's about a balloon. And you envision a balloon in your chest or in your belly or in some part of this part of your body, because that's where the breathing that we do and the expansion that comes from breathing really all takes place in our lungs and our diaphragms and our bellies. And we can envision a balloon that, as we breathe in, gets bigger, and as we breathe out, shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and all the air goes out. So this one is a pretty visual one too. You can really imagine the balloon, but it's also nice because you can feel it too, right? So as you imagine your balloon, you can really feel that balloon filling all the way up with air and then letting all the air out of it, and it goes and gets really tiny and deflates. And I think this one goes nicely with the idea of trying to have all of the possible air that we can in there, all of the possible air that we can out of there, so that our balloons are truly full and that our balloons are truly empty. And luckily, there's absolutely no risk of popping your balloon. So I'm gonna pick a color for my balloon. I'm kind of a visual thinker anyway. I'm gonna pick a red balloon. I'm gonna imagine that there's a balloon in my lungs and chest and belly. And I think the belly is a good place to put your balloon too, because even if you want to put your hands on it, you can really feel it. So on my inhale, I'm gonna put one hand on my chest and one hand on my belly. On my inhale, I'm going to imagine that balloon getting super big, filling all the way up with air, just as you do with a balloon that you had in your mouth and it was expanding. And then on the exhale, I'm going to imagine it shrinking, 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 and then finally it's just the rubber, the balloon itself, and no air. Okay, and now we can practice together. Inhale, balloon filling all the way up. Exhale, the balloon gets really tiny. I'm gonna do it a couple more times. It's kind of difficult to talk, especially on the inhale, so I'm gonna do it a couple more times and hopefully we'll be doing it together. Feels really nice. One thing I forgot to mention is that typically when we're doing breathing exercises, we want to be sitting up pretty straight with our feet on the ground. This gives us a grounded connection with the earth and with the ground so that we feel stable and rooted. And sitting up straight with our backs nice and tall, our heads up high, it opens up our airway so that air can travel more freely in and out of our bodies. So that's typically why when we do breathing, we try to relax our shoulders, get our heads up high, have a straight back, and have sort of our chests a little open and our feet on the ground, just to prepare us for, as being as relaxed and comfortable and open as we can be to invite all of the air into our bodies in the most direct and clearest pathway. So the next breathing exercise that we're gonna do is a pretty fun one too. And this one, all in the nose, all in the nostrils. You don't even need your mouth for this one. So we're gonna do a breathing exercise called alternate nostril breathing. And you can either just do your fingers, right? Like we're gonna plug each nostril. You don't have to put it in your finger. You don't have to put your finger in your nose. Although I have seen many of you do that often. But you can either use your pointer finger, you can use your thumb and your pointer finger, so you don't have to rotate your hand. Or, use any of your fingers you like. You can use your pinky, whichever. But we're going to plug each nostril, one after the other. We're gonna use one nostril for inhaling. So if I'm plugging this one, we're using this nostril for inhaling, and then exhaling is gonna be out of this nostril, so I plug the other nostril. So I'm not gonna tell you which one. Left and right can already be confusing, especially on video when I'm, mirror image. But I am gonna start by plugging this nostril, breathing in, plugging this nostril, and breathing out. So as you can hear, my nose is sounding a little rattly. There's some stuff up there. So I should have probably done this, but I didn't. Maybe get a tissue or whatever you use to blow your nose, and make sure your nose is cleared out. But even if it's not, and you are feeling a little stuffy or a little congested, this can be a really good way to make sure that both of the sides of your nose and both of your nostrils are getting kind of cleared out. And even just bringing awareness and attention to what the different sides of your nose feel like. Because when we're breathing, I think typically things feel open and we're not even paying attention to our breath, but it actually is kind of interesting when we get down into breathing exercises and what actually do the different sides of our nose feel like when we breathe through them. So, all that said, get your tissue, just go for it. I'm gonna just go for it. And yeah, so I'm gonna start, as I said, with this nostril, breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. One last time. Breathing in. Breathing out. So I should also mention, should have probably mentioned this at the very beginning, that before I started this video, I washed my hands. And as we're all trying to do as little as possible with our hands and our fingers on our faces, sometimes there are certain things we have to do, like breathing in through one nostril, alternate nostril breathing. So it's really important to keep washing our hands, especially if there's going to be any sort of hands touching your face situation. And that is the only, let me think for a sec. Yep, that's the only breathing exercise that we're going to be doing that requires any sort of touching your face. And if you're feeling nervous about it, breathing exercise is a great way to feel less nervous. I hope those of you who have made it this far in the video are already starting to feel a little bit more calm. I know I am. And it's also just a great way for me to wake up in the morning and start my day with all the oxygen flowing in my body so that I can have the most amount of clear thoughts, and helps me sort of be creative and get out of my bed and hit the ground running, whatever they say. So the next one is called 4-count breathing. And as the title kind of says, we're gonna breathe in for 4 counts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on how you count. I just realized I don't really know which one I do. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. And we're gonna breathe in for 4 counts. After we've inhaled, we're gonna hold that breath in for 4 counts, and then breathe out for 4 counts. And this is 4 is a nice square, even number that to me is sort of like a calm number. I don't know, even numbers are more calm to me. I think that's kind of weird, I don't know. And then it's a kind of a square breath. So we can also imagine ourselves going around these counts of 4, and it's a nice cycle. So when I do it, and you guys join me, instead of counting out loud, because as you can see, it's kind of difficult for me to count or talk and breathe at the same time. I mean, typically when I'm talking to people, like right now, I am still breathing, but when I'm really trying to focus on my breath, it's kind of difficult or distracting to be talking out loud. So I'm gonna keep my eyes open this time, right? But I'm gonna count out with my fingers. So if you want to close your eyes and do it, you can count in your head or on your own fingers, or if you don't want to keep your eyes open and watch mine. I know everyone can count to 4. Okay, here we go. Breathing in for 4, holding it for 4, and then breathing out for 4, and repeating that. So I said I was gonna keep my eyes open, accidentally close my eyes. It happens. And then the next one we're gonna do is kind of on the same idea as that one. I mentioned visualizing a square, and we're just gonna do it. We can do any shape we want. I think most of the shapes that I'm thinking in my head, like a square or a triangle or a rectangle, a rhombus, a trapezoid, any of these shapes kind of have continuous lines. So they have an outside and an inside, right? And what separates them is a line, or really it's a bunch of dots that's connected by a line. So for a triangle, it's 3 dots connected by some lines. So anything that you can kind of trace the shape with your finger. You know, when you draw shapes with a pencil, you can just do it in a continuous motion and with one line. So I'm gonna use a square. Sometimes I use a star just to be fun, because a star also is a pretty continuous shape. And I'm gonna use a square, and I'm gonna imagine my breathing going around in the square. So if we imagine a square like that, I'm gonna imagine my inhale takes me halfway around the square, and my exhale takes me the other halfway around the square. I'm gonna use the other side of my hand. That image of my hand is kind of freaking me out. So the inhale, right, takes us up, and oopsies, I messed that one up. We're gonna try again. The inhale takes us up and over, and the exhale takes us out, down, and back over. So when we breathe, we're breathing inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. All right, let's try it. Go inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. See, kept my eyes open that time. And that's how I knew that my finger was staying in the screen. Probably kind of helpful. Although I know you guys can all use your imaginations. Let's see, I think I'm gonna do one or two more breathing exercises, though let me tell you, I really have a lot in my mind. And if you'd like any more breathing exercises or some more active breathing exercises, please reach out to me. My email is sarahkrantz@heartandhandcenter.org. That's SARAHKRANTZ @heart, HEART, and AND, center, CENTER.org. Not totally sure why that was so hard for me, but it was. And so, all right, we're gonna get going into our last two breathing exercises. And I wish I was doing this with you guys in person, and I guess this is the second best thing. So the second to last one that we're gonna do is called bumblebee breathing. Bumblebees typically make this sound, zzz, or yeah, I think so. Bzz, yeah. Bzz. So we're gonna try, oops, excuse me, got a little itch in my eye. We are gonna try doing a regular inhale, and then as we breathe out, you can do a hum like this. Sometimes it kind of tickles my lips. Or you can do a buzzing sound. Bzzz. But as you do either the hum or the buzzing sound, we're gonna be releasing air and exhaling. So on the inhale, it's a regular inhale, breathing in. And on the exhale, I guess we could call it a hummingbird or a bumblebee, right? Because we could hum, even though hummingbirds don't really hum. And the other option is a buzzing sound. So you can also think of in your mind a bumblebee or a hummingbird and choose to embody either of those animals, depending on which one you choose. I'm gonna choose a buzzing sound because, as I mentioned, sometimes humming tickles my lips. It's really strange. I don't know why, but I feel that it's kind of unpleasant for me. So I'm gonna breathe in normally, inhale, sorry, and then when I breathe out, I'm gonna make a buzzing sound, and it's gonna look a little like this. Breathing in, breathing out, bzzz. Seems like I had a lot of air in my lungs, because I did. Typically, unless I inhale really slowly, my exhales are a whole lot longer. I don't know if that's the same for everyone else, but I've definitely noticed that about my own breathing when I do breathing exercises. And probably it would be even better if I slowed in my inhale so that it could be a little bit more of a even inhale, exhale breathing situation. So I'm gonna try that. I'm still learning, always learning, and that's why I practice also, just to make sure that, you know, I know what I can do to get better and improve on my breathing techniques. I know it sounds kind of funny that you would need to improve on your breathing skills, but you know, since it's one of the basic parts of living, I think it's even more important to think about it and be aware of it and make sure we're doing the best job we can of something that's so vital to our lives. All right, so one more time. This time I'm gonna try to slow my inhale, my in-breath down so that I can have a little bit of a more balanced inhale and exhale. So here I go. Inhaling slowly. So yeah, exhale still longer than my inhale. I'm gonna have to keep working on that one. And there's one more that I wanna share with you guys that is a little bit tricky for me on the camera, just because it involves lying down and I don't really wanna like reposition or figure out how to reposition the camera while you guys all watch me. And so I'm just gonna describe it to you. And hopefully you can practice on your own, because it's kind of a fun one. And it's a little bit tricky in ways that aren't just like focusing and breathing. So this one, I'm gonna call it making an object move with my breath. All of the titles are like not that creative. They're just like kind of what I think is happening. So you can lie down. I'll model it, but just by sitting up, just so you know sort of generally what to do. I'm gonna lie down, right, with my back against the wall, and I'm gonna put an object resting on my tummy, sort of like around my ribs and my tummy. And then I'm gonna make it rise when I breathe in, right? And fall when I breathe out. And I think it can be kind of fun if you use a ball or something kind of round, and see if you can keep it on your stomach as you're breathing in and out, to see what kind of balance and control you can bring to your breathing. And that's just a fun one, a little bit more of an active component. And yeah, I hope that you guys got some good deep breathing in and are feeling a little calmer. Maybe you were already feeling calm and now you're feeling super chill. And yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I hope I'll see you guys again soon. Bye! Wash your hands.